Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Smite Super Regionals. We're getting close to the end of the show, but not before we have a few more important games that'll decide the fate of the teams here, and also a few more important guests that has decided the fate of a lot of the solo laners. Baskin, what's up, man?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm pretty excited to watch these games, see how they pan out.
Yeah, I'm sure everyone is excited to kind of hear your thoughts on not only solo lane matchups, but just Smite in general. You're a pretty experienced player. A lot of people, call you one of the best in the world. So feel free to talk. I'm sure no one will get mad at you for doing so.
I hope not.
All right. Taco is going to be joining me as well. And as we start to break down the next part of this game, we've got Flashpoint versus Luminosity coming up. This is a very big game in terms of where the fate of this direction of the group stage is going, because obviously Flashpoint, they have the opportunity to get 3 wins and tie things up with Luminosity, and this head-to-head matchup will determine, if tied, who kind of goes through. Obviously Orbit, Sanguine, their chances are out at this moment, and Dig, they will not be able to beat Luminosity having played all 5 matches. So it really is just up to Flashpoint to be able to break into that cycle and make a stake for them being at Worlds.
Yeah, you can tell that Flashpoint are probably pretty ready. I mean, if anything, I just saw them. They've been huddling outside and taking any opportunities that they can to come together as a team. And I guess probably go over some new strats, see if they might pull out a couple of surprises. Because, I mean, best of ones,
That's right.
This is definitely the time to show up. Yeah,
and I'm honestly super excited for this matchup, especially because I would consider Luminosity and Flashpoint to be the 2 biggest online powerhouses. We scrim both of them, and we have a losing record in both of them.
Wow.
Against both of them in scrims. And us and Eager definitely do worse than them in scrims, but on lane we step it up. But I'm so excited because they're 2 of the strongest teams in the world.
Would you put them at an even footing against each other, or would you give one team the edge?
Online, I would give Luminosity the edge, but Flashpoint, especially Benji and Vetium, 2 LAN veterans at this point, they play extremely well in LAN. And I don't know, it's going to be close.
Wow. Taco, would you kind of assess it the same way? I know you're not scrimming them, but in terms of giving the edge to any team?
I couldn't really give an edge to either team. I mean, from the get-go, I've kind of been in the same boat as Baskin, where I've regarded both of these teams as 2 pretty predominant teams in NA, and I think I'm a little bit surprised, to be honest, to see them having to face off now in such important matchups, and I definitely think it'll be pretty interesting to see how it unfolds.
Let's go to the solo lane matchup. Benji, Scary D, right? You've played against both of them on many occasions, scrims, online, and also LAN environments. Going into this, Scary D, he's had a bit of confidence issues moving forward. Now he doesn't seem to have them as much. Should Benji be on the lookout for kind of a new and improved Scary D?
I think the solo lane will be very interesting. The 2 things that come to my mind for both these players is that they don't really like to respect ganks that much, and they're also extremely aggressive, but they're 2 very, very strong laners. I would say Scary D is a little bit more nervous. Benji is sort of a more, I guess, calm person. So Scary D definitely has some nerves, but it's going to be pretty even, and you could expect both teams to be putting a lot of pressure in solo and expecting that to be their win condition.
Very interesting. So he's kind of seeing the win condition coming out of there. Do you think it's also going to be dictated by the solo lane, or is there any particular matchup that you think will mean more in this? Hurriwind is a guy that has a lot of, I guess, emotion and things outside of the game coming in to impact whether he makes it or not, and he's one that maybe we should be looking out for.
I feel like it'll fall more into the hands of mid and jungle rather than the solo lanes. I think that even though Scary D has shown nervous tendencies in the past, he's definitely feeling a lot more confident after the games that they've had so far today, and I think that it'll be more so of a factor of whether Homiefe decides to punish or vice versa, at the same time. They might be able to just fall behind due to the jungle and mid aspect, because Hurriwind still has to be pretty concerned in the fact that we haven't seen the strongest of showings from him so far.
That's right. And in terms of your eyes on the mid lane, Hurriwind, somebody obviously that feels that, I don't know if it's slighted, but feels that definitely he has something to prove. Has he proved it yet, or is this now his chance to kind of prove it to the world that, hey, he's one of the top tier mid laners?
I think he's still in the process of proving it. During our group set, Group D, he definitely played extremely well. He plays top 2 in the group, and he pretty much played lights out. But during this LAN, he's kind of, been a little bit quiet. He hasn't done terribly, but he hasn't done extremely well. And I think this set especially will be kind of the set that either solidifies him as a solid lane player or not, I guess.
Wow. So we'll go into the draft here. There's a lot on the line for both teams, not just reputations, but obviously results They all want to go to Worlds, and this is pretty much securing either one of those hopes or the solidifying that they are going. That would be in the way of Luminosity if they get this win. They will be through. So Nemesis and Alquang on the board, blocked off, and Sobek and Terra as well for Flashpoint. Nothing too crazy coming out in terms of these bans.
Yeah, I think Luminosity will focus a lot of their bans on the jungle because they kind of want to put Homiefe out of his signature gods of Nem and Alquang, and they want to put him on gods that they feel like he'll be uncomfortable on. And he hasn't had that great Thor game, so maybe they're trying to force him into that pick.
Interesting. What do you think in terms of Luminosity's direction, ban-wise, or at least draft-wise, to counter Flashpoint?
No, I would definitely agree with Baskin in that it's a much easier and safer strategy, in my opinion, for them to go ahead and try to target out the jungle aspect of the game, because Homiefe tends to play off a lot around Hurriwind, and so if Homiefe is a little bit off of his game, it's going to make Hurriwind a lot more uncomfortable in the mid lane, and he might encounter a lot of difficulties as far as deciding when and how to do proper engagement, should they try and take initiative, you know, force a fight, things like that. So it's definitely smart by Luminosity, and they're opting for the Erlang. We've seen Scary have pretty solid performance on the Erlang, and I think that, if anything, they could possibly just want to have it as a flex pick.
Do you think this is going into the solo lane for Scary?
Yeah, I think this will be a solo lane pick. Jeff does play Erlang occasionally, but I do think it's stronger in solo lane, especially because it's high pressure, it's easy to set up ganks, and I think they'll be looking to gank Salt a lot, or Benji a lot, and get him behind and Scary ahead.
Is Erlang kind of your dream pick? Who would you want to have in the solo lane if you could have anybody?
It's hard. Oh, I have sets coming up, so I can't really say. But
you can't give the strats. I knew it.
Is
The second
definitely
I
a
asked.
top pick.
Okay, he's one of those.
Yeah.
And that's no surprise. So you're
Yeah.
not really giving anything away there. Try to get Baskin and get the strats, guys. I tried.
Nice try.
He didn't do it.
Collusion.
I'm looking out for people who want to learn some stuff, man. Okay, Janus and Bacchus, they are taken away by Flashpoint. They will be selected. And Susano and Raijin will be selected onto Luminosity. So feels like maybe Mast feeling very confident on his Japanese assassin.
Yeah, he loves Susano, one of his favorite gods. He's kind of the only one that plays him at this point after the nerfs, but he just loves the playstyle, loves the guaranteed damage and the mobility. And I think everything else is pretty much standard picks. Yeah, looks pretty standard.
I also think it's a good idea for him to opt for the Susano, considering the fact that it's excellent at pulling back the Janus, and that would, you know, eliminate those easier portal escape chances that they have and allow for the Raijin to get his burst damage off in time for it to, you know, completely change the direction of a team fight.
That's a really interesting interaction. Not like guaranteed, but when you can pull it off, that's like a highlight reel right there. Just pull him, kill him before he can get to his portal. So Jing selected. That's obviously a very highly contested, highly valued, not contested, highly valued hunter going in the top 3 very often. Flashpoint, take that one up. And of course, the 3 cores here for both teams are selected as we go into the ban phase. Freya and Sol taken away, and Vamana and Amaterasu taken away on both teams.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Flashpoint's decision to go ahead and opt for Jingwei. She's a really safe laning pick. She has excellent combo set up alongside of the Bacchus. You know, you have the Bacchus flop into the Jingwei 1, and then that could also be played off of a Janus portal even. So I think that that was a pretty smart decision by them. I also really like the Robin coming out on the side of Benji, because that way it's going to allow him to counter the aggression that's most likely going to come out of Scary on this Erlang. And I think that it'll make for a pretty interesting solo lane slap fight.
Yeah, Robin does a good job of dealing with Erlang's high pressure in lane, and also a bigger thing for me is Robin is very hard to gank.
And the Camazotz coming out of left field. It was bound to come out at some point, but I have to be honest, I wasn't expecting it to come out on the side of Flashpoint.
You have to be Janus?
Yeah.
Oh.
All right, Aggro, calm down
Got him. Dad jokes in the house. But Camazotz picked up. This is, like you said, we weren't really expecting this, but it does come through. Flashpoint, you mentioned the secret strats here. This is the time that you're going to bring it out. They need a win here to force an opportunity to beat Orbit next and get themselves a chance at Worlds. Looking at these drafts, guys, who gets the better edge in your eyes?
I would have to go for Luminosity.
Yeah, I'd say Luminosity. I think the Camazotz is definitely a big question mark, but in terms of overall consistency and pressure, I'd give it to Luminosity.
All right, BaRRa will be on that. Rama, he's been loving these last few games. The comfort picks, keeping him on those same winning teams, doesn't seem to work out for the teams who draft against him, but we'll see if Camazotz can prevail this one. Luminosity Flashpoint coming up now.
Thanks so much, Rain Day, and the analysts did a great job once again breaking this one down, but the Camazotz last pick, very interesting there. We'll get into that in a second, but for you guys just tuning in, only North American teams can make it out of this group now.
They can, but two still possible teams, both Flashpoint and Luminosity. Now, Flashpoint, they obviously need to beat LG here, and then after that, they're going to be facing up against Orbit. If they can find 2 wins in a row, they will qualify alongside ALG.
And then let's go into this game then, because it's do or die time for both of them. LG do not want to have to leave fate into other people's hands, because Flashpoint look good, and Flashpoint with Camazotz.
So, interesting enough, Homiefe actually really loves this god. He's been playing it on his stream for the past couple weeks or so. This is a god that gives him a lot of high pressure and kill potential. The biggest point about Camazotz is actually has the strongest ranged poke of any assassin. Normally you attribute that to Thor with the double tap, but since Camazotz has 2 abilities that have that long range chance, you can get a lot of poke off and kind of time when it's good to engage.
Very, very good at damage dealing, but not very good at mobility. And one thing that the side of Flashpoint have drafted here is that Janus. That could really help them out to get this Camazotz in range for the pressure that he's going to be looking for as this game goes on. Now, obviously, early game as well, good aggression with a Ravana too, and I think that's one of the reasons Flashpoint are looking
This is an
for
invade. You smell
it
that?
Smells good right now.
Some cheese? Is
Rinse
that
repeat of what happened in game against Allegiance, but there's a ward there.
So it's
And
going to be
Benji
spotted
and
out.
Homie will know about it. Let's just see how Luminosity react this time round, because last time was a different story. This 1v1's interesting. It definitely goes Camazotz Raven's way on paper, but you've still got Erlang, Shen, and Susano against you.
Wrath is picked up by Benji. I don't think.
Yes,
No. Scaredy does have it as well. So I mean, this is going to come down to timing here, and Flashpoint are just delaying this as much as possible. They're actually going to make it to this wave on the right-hand side. Scary D is going to be behind a little bit, and Mast instead going to be splitting in the mid as Shadowq made the rotation as well. And actually, JeffHindla started moving over to duo. Noticed Shadowq went mid, and so now he's rotating over. And this is necessary for both teams right now to get control of the right-hand side camps.
We were looking at all on the right-hand side where that blue buff is now being stolen by Flashpoint, but meanwhile in the mid lane, Shadowq did do left-hand harpies with the support of Hurriwind there, and that's why you saw Shadowq over there so early on. Jeff, recognizing the issue, has rotated as well to try and help out, but right-hand elemental is also going to go the way of Flashpoint.
This needs to not, I mean, I love what Flashpoint are doing here. Luminosity have shown to struggle not only on early invades, but also just early game in general, and now Jeff and Xeno, as the rest of their team are doing speed, are going to try and contest this, but it's a 3v2, and they're not really going to have an opportunity to jump in here. This is just them trying to RNG and steal it away.
And at level 2, I mean, it's not a whole lot you can do there for the time being, so still, the camp does go down. Back to mid lane we go, with supports joining the mid and jungle very early on in this one.
Early game definitely went to Flashpoint. I mean, they've picked up a couple extra camps. They stole away the blue on the right-hand side. They secured the left and right harpies along with fire elementals. JeffHindla missed a wave on the left and in the mid, and so that experience difference is going to matter when we start to see the level 5s hit.
Very, very true indeed. On the right-hand side, all the buffs are now down. Eventually, as the speed buff is taken by Flashpoint GG here. The experience difference at the moment is relatively even. There's a small lead at the moment, as you can see, for Benji in that solo lane.
Just a little bit right now, and this is what you want in the Ravana. Obviously, a lot of pressure coming out of Erlang Shen, but Ravana has been known to get the better into this matchup, at least in the very early parts of the game. You can obviously immune the pin as long as you time your overhead kick correctly, and you can see Scary D already getting pressured under tower. He doesn't have a blue buff either. No mana potions or multi-potions left. He's likely going to have to take an early trip to the tower, especially if Homiefe looks to put some pressure on him.
Taunt in mid lane will hit Homiefe, but he won't panic too much just there. Don't forget he's got those vampiric bats that you saw fly back to him there. That is sustain that comes in a little bit later on.
A little bit.
Once the damage has been done.
I mean, it can add up too, so you do have to be careful. Homiefe actually backing. I'm assuming he's got enough to finish off his boots, and because Camazotz actually clears the jungle so quickly and can sustain, having that early back, even if it's before 5, could be positive. Instead, actually looking for JeffHindla.
Good little bit of poke onto Jeff there, but he will be able to dash away. Held his abilities wisely, and Xeno just looking to put out some in-hand damage there for the most part. They contested those right-hand elementals again. Still level 4 for Camazotz though at the moment, and then he will get his ultimate, which does give him a little bit of extra escapability if required, or even damage.
Also, that is one of the bigger weaknesses of Camazotz as well, is that his dash is incredibly short, one of the shortest in the game, at least leap-wise. Obviously, you know, you've got like Guan Yu dash, which is actually the shortest dash in the game, but his ultimate is kind of It's okay for escape, but it's not the best. It's not a Thor hammer ult. It's, you know, not Suku, which is very reliable bonus movement speed. And so Homiefe is going to have to be very careful in his positioning and his decision making, that when he goes in, because he doesn't have those options to get out, that he's confident that he can find kills.
Now both these two teams, obviously Luminosity win this game, they will go to the World Championships. Flashpoint, however, different story. They'll have to win back-to-back victories against Luminosity and then Orbit in the final game of this group today. There will be no tiebreakers anymore. It's not even possible at this stage with just how the games have gone. There was a small chances for that, but not anymore. Benji on the right-hand side will steal away the blue buff away from Luminosity and ScaryD yet again.
And this is really what needs to happen. I mean, when you watched last game, it was actually ScaryD getting solo kills on Nika. The biggest weakness LG have had is their right side of the map, their solo lane side. ScaryD has been a little bit inconsistent, but mostly it's just shutting down BaRRaCCuDDa and not allowing him opportunities to get farm.
Well, there's a bit of damage coming out there from the Screech from Homiefe. If it bounces back, he does get a bit of a buff to himself. But what he's also looking for is those vampiric bats, because those vampiric bats do allow him to stack his passive a little bit.
It's a whole lot of dots, and you know, he gets a little bit of heal back from the vampire bats as well. Hurriwind gonna get taunted out, but Raijin not in a position to follow up off the aggression from the Athena. The Screech also gives you vision if you can hit your opponent with it, so it's pretty important to try and do that. I mean, it lasts quite some time, and having vision of the opposing jungler as he rotates to either set up a kill or go to his buffs, important. Gives you options to invade, to counter-initiate, to tell your own team to back off.
Now the question is about the side of Camazotz. As you see Shadowq flopping away from Master in the mid lane. With this Camazotz on the roster, where does he actually really pick up pace? Hold that thought, ScaryD, torn in two, knocks up two, thunder crashing from Xeno, and already the bat is dead.
Janus ult slow to respond, and Flashpoint not going to be able to answer back. And again, that's one of the weaknesses of the Camazotz. You saw his dash go, but it's so incredibly short. He wasn't able to get up into his ultimate fast enough, and just a very clean kill. Great job from Luminosity recognizing that.
Hurriwind's out of position here, away from the side of the walls.
Oh, barely.
Will get his purification off and get through the portal, but now it's Shadowq forced to flop away as well. Luminosity pressuring early.
And Hurriwind putting himself in a bad spot there, standing in the middle of the wave with the Janus. It took him a little bit to get to the wall. He finally does in the end. The purification saves him as well, so he doesn't get taunted out from the ult by Luminosity. And they recognized that they would get his purification 100% there because he had spent that ult to send it over the right-hand side, trying to get Homie out. It was down. Now they've got a 3-minute window to abuse that.
It's a very interesting situation to pull out Camazotz at this stage when people have said he seems like a pretty strong god in terms of ability in solo queue games, but in a team environment when you've got little mobility, we always talk and mention mobility is so important, but damage, that's one thing this character brings, and a hell of a lot of it.
And like I said, Homiefe is going to be the guy to bring it out. He's incredibly confident in his own jungle play. He really does like fighting and engaging early, and this is the god that allows him to do it. He can also play he can play well around his team too, because you have such dominant ranged poke for an assassin, along with the ability of self-sustain throughout your kit, that you can farm and not have to back for a long time.
Well, level 8 online for him right now. The Fire Elementals again going to go with the way of Flashpoint. They did get the first kill, Luminosity. They're the ones pressuring the map a little bit more in terms of kills, but farm-wise, Flashpoint are controlling it, and now they're setting up a bait for ScaryD.
He's taking it too. Walks in, gets pinned out, has his taunt, and that's going to give him a heal, but he needs to get it soon. Homiefe can't find the kill.
And that's going to buy ScaryD time to rotate through the jungle, but space and time, and the ultimate from Homiefe will clean him up. The bat is not from hell. He's in the sky.
Surprising that ScaryD went into his own jungle instead of the tower right next to him. I mean, Flashpoint still has a good dive composition, but that basically guaranteed his death.
Now, one thing we had not mentioned is the essence pull that you can just see Camazotz using there. Gives you mana and percentage health back as you heal inside it. Out of combat, heals it even quicker, and they're engaging at the speed buff again. Taunt onto 2, however, Benji. Bit of an awkward position there for him. Going to hit by the drums of war, but the overhead kick will come into play, so not too much damage.
And Xenotronics lines it up, but right now the Raijin ultimate not doing that much damage, and there's that ranged poke. Once again, I mean, Mast, he takes 30% of his life, just a quick combo. Homiefe goes back, and Mast is going to be forced to base.
Meanwhile, left-hand side, BaRRaCCuDDa has the red buff for Luminosity. Now he's like, you know what, Vetium, I want this one too.
He wants to fight.
I mean, he does. He's trying to bait them in, but the problem is that Flashpoint could also look to come around and collapse too. But talking about collapsing, it's Luminosity here first.
Red buff is stolen away here successfully. Goes over to BaRRaCCuDDa. And I like what Bear is doing. We talked about how a lot of teams just kind of let him have his way in lane, didn't really aggress onto him, play it safe. And now BaRRaCCuDDa seems to be forcing the issue, where he's invading the red buff, and he says, Flashpoint, you have to respond to me. Either either Vetium's going to try and defend this, and I'm going to try and fight him and win a 1v1, or you're going to have to rotate over. And it also relieves pressure across the map as LG is able to rotate in and basically force BaRRaCCuDDa to get involved in the game.
And BaRRaCCuDDa with his build here, gone for Devour's Gauntlets on the Rama early first of all. This is to deal with a Jingwei in lane. Jingwei's ability to go back to base with the passive, so strong, which actually allows you to have to deal with the situation by getting lifesteal early on yourself. And obviously BaRRaCCuDDa, he plays Jingwei a lot himself. He knows one of the best ways to deal with it.
Yeah, I was talking to BaRRa, and he was like, I know all the counters to Jingwei. There's not many, but if someone brings it out, I know exactly how to play against it. I know how to abuse them. I know how to gain lane pressure. And as a ROM, that's good. I mean, if you're getting pressure against a Jingwei as a ROM who's typically there to farm up and wait for late game or wait for mid game rotation to get ultimates off to just, do damage, chase down some kills, it gives you a lot of opportunities to open up the Gold Fury.
Well, Flashpoint recognized that though at the start because they let Shadowq rotate early on. They didn't even had him in lane. They knew that the whole plan for Vetium here is just to farm up Taunt again onto the bat, but there's no real people in range there.
Three-man knockup.
There is now, but it's a 3-man Intoxicate too. The bat is out of hell right now, and it's JeffHindla that may pay the price. Great knockup from Master by time, but Homie leaps in with a Devour. 2 shots from BaRRa though will secure a killing response thanks to Xenotronics' Percussive Storm.
1-for-1 trade. Once again though, JeffHindla going aggressive. Xenotronics not in range to immediately follow up, and then just a great initiation or counter initiation, excuse me, from Shadowq, knocking up 3, getting the Intoxicate. Homiefe dives a little bit too deep for the kill and pays for it, but now Gold Fury started up. BaRRa and Mass trying to stop it.
Mass is looking at Hurriwind, and Hurriwind will get through the portal in time. Gold Fury reset.
Shadow's dead.
Shadowq's running for his life at the moment. The wobbly fat man can't get away from Mass right now, and he picks up a kill. Taunt from Jeff to help out BaRRaCCuDDa, who's being chased down by Benji.
They're trying to body block.
Still not giving up.
It doesn't matter. Benji finds the kill. Left-hand side, Mass trying to escape as well. It's Vetium chasing him down, but Vetium's low as well, and the rest of LG around the corner. He slows it down. Benji still in the area, and that knockup actually going to help Benji close the gap onto Xeno. 2-for-1 in favor of Flashpoint.
And that was all down to the early game where Benji got a lead over ScaryD. ScaryD then, in that right-hand side, what you saw was he had a full wave push into the tower because Benji proxy farmed the wave between Tier 1 and Tier 2, and then ScaryD was worried about the blue buff.
It's the level difference.
Going to get the speed as well.
It's the level difference. I mean, right now, ScaryD 3 levels behind, now only 2. But he didn't hit level 12 fast enough, so he didn't have teleport. You can see Benji picked his up. And again, the game deciding by kind of early game sometimes, especially for Luminosity. The early game goes heavily in favor of Flashpoint, crippling the farm.
Taunt in mid on Hurriwind, but once again, he's got Purification available. It is burnt one more time, and Hurriwind's going to be so careful. Like, he's sat in the mid lane too often against Athena here, which is quite surprising.
It is, and he's standing in the middle of the wave as well instead of close to walls, which you typically see Janus players do, so they're, ready to get out just in case. They've always got that protective wall that they can portal away from, but when you're in the mid, you just leave yourself open, especially against an Athena who's going to be able to not only have that CC, but also pull you even further away from the wall.
We saw Vetium in a weird position there on that Jingwei. He was placing a ward down where BaRRaCCuDDa is right now. Homiefe, meanwhile in the jungle, though, still trading with Mast and winning the trades.
And he's the slow as well, coming out from his poke. You're just seeing Homiefe right now, top damage in the game. Oh, excuse me, Benji actually, after he's been bullying ScaryD out. But Homiefe just constantly throwing out this poke every single chance he can get and making it very uncomfortable for Mass to want to engage.
And the best thing about that poke is obviously the vampiric bats. The 2 that he's using there is a slow, does a dot damage and then heals you back. The 1 as well. They've both got very good range on them for the most part to be able to sit at the back and just throw it out consistently to get free damage off. But look at this.
Started up right now. Not started up. This is getting absolutely burned, and a Wrath as well. That was a 3-second Gold Fury.
I don't know how that was so quick, but now Shadowq's trying to make something answer in response. Flashpoint not going to find anything though. Luminosity have evened things up a little bit more now. It's only a 1900 gold lead.
Great play coming out from them, just recognizing that Flashpoint was not in position. You saw just a slight rotation coming out from BaRRa, leaning over to the right into the jungle, and then all of a sudden, once they noticed that they had ward dominance, just the quick rush. They have the Wrath as well onto ScaryD to guarantee it.
And that was all down to the fact that teleport came straight out of base from ScaryD, straight to that Gold Fury, and the burst was fantastic. Honestly, I don't think we saw any ultimates really used. It was just like full-on burst from the whole team. Same time, to be fair, BaRRaCCuDDa did just get a power spike with that Iqval, and he put it to use.
Actually getting out poked right now by Vetium, both on the exact same build, the attack speed boots, Devo's gloves, Death Toll obviously still in their inventory, and the Ick Vial, so it's really just who's hitting those basics in a lot of situations, unless Jingwei can get some poke off with the knockup.
Explosive Bolts crit, that's the other thing you got to take into account as well.
That RNG, oh, that's brutal.
And the Rama versus Jingwei matchup is an interesting one because Jingwei has very good control in this matchup, but Rama has the cripple, as you can see there, which means when he can get that off and not take poke in response, he starts to win the trade a little bit.
The Astral Arrows as well, just doing that extra little bit of bonus damage, and the stacking slow, that's so annoying to fight against.
I noticed what you saw at BaRRaCCuDDa's screen there. You could see his abilities that he'd leveled. He was maxing the rollout second because he wants the cooldown on that to be lower so he can actually, A, use it more offensively, but also defensively as well.
Benji, though, still trying to bully out Scary D, but both buffs are secured. Janus used, but a quick reaction from LG to get away.
Oh, but Homiefe overstayed his welcome there, forced to devour back to safety into the jungle. Luckily, his team were well aware, and everybody else.
This is Homiefe's plan all day. It's just
bait.
Oh, a squishy. Okay, poke damage. All right, I'm gonna back off. All right, squishy, poke damage. All right, I'm gonna back off.
If they get in range, he can just ult.
He did the same thing to Scary D, and actually, you know, Scary D, not even a squishy, was still getting shredded by his abilities. This is probably one of the strongest points that Homiefe has when he's got both his Screech and Devour maxed out. He's going to be doing so much damage. Honestly, it's probably going to hit Mast or Xeno for about half their life with that combo. If he can follow up with his ultimate and get some kills, and he's even gone Blink to do so as well.
Yeah, gain range again once more if he can and cause some problems. You saw the net worth in the bottom left-hand corner a second ago, and it actually shows you it's 3 members in the top 3 for Flashpoint here. Camazotz third, BaRRaCCuDDa and Vetium still trading off in terms of gold, but it's a small lead for Vetium.
This is still a really close game. Overall, Flashpoint doing a better job after responding with their, or I guess invading and then handling it much better than Luminosity did. That first Gold Fury, though, does cripple Flashpoint a little bit. I think they were the ones who really wanted to go for the early Gold Furies. This seems to me like a team composition that just wants to fight as often as possible. You have Camazotz in the jungle, you have Robin in the solo lane, put pressure all over, non-stop.
Now, they have mobility, Flashpoint, but one thing they are lacking a little bit more of is controlling these engagements. They have the knock-up from Bacchus, and they have a root coming out from Benji and a Gust. They're the 3 things they have. That's it. There's not a lot of CC on this team.
And that's fine if they can just keep doing these smaller 2v2 and 3v3 engagements. When it comes to 5v5, though, it's going to be really annoying to play against Luminosity. I mean, they have so much control in their kits. They've got knockups, pins, cripples, just out of Scary D. Yeah. Scary D actually has more CC than all of Flashpoint.
And then you've got Athena as well with Taunt. You've got Scary D with Taunt as well. Mast.
With a pull, a knockup.
Even, you know, when you even look at it, you've got a cripple as well on the side of Rama that comes into play as well. This is literally a match of mobility and damage versus control.
And LG just going to be trying to play it slow for now. Honestly, the later this game goes, it's not very clear. It's not like both teams have these super late game compositions. Obviously, Raijin's going to turn up, but we know the damage Janus can output. Ram versus Jingwei can be pretty even as well. A lot of it comes down to positioning.
Definitely true, and the one thing that's going to be a very infatuated is the Camazotz. No one's seen it in competitive play yet. So even if you've seen it in your casual games, it's not the same thing as playing it at the pro level here. So that is an unknown quantity right now as we play this game.
I mean, we always talk about god pools, right? You know, what gods do these players bring in? You know, Mast is the only one playing Susano right now between both regions, and then now Homiefe, the only one to show Camazotz, and it's one of those things where Susano took some nerfs, and so maybe it took a little bit for people to get used to it again, but no one has really played Camazotz. I mean, I've heard tales of some solo lane Camazotz, but nothing that's coming out consistently.
And with this build that we see on the Camazotz jungle by Homiefe, it's all penetration so far. No defense in this kit whatsoever. It's all about just getting, I guess, just consistent damage off with the Screech, with the bats, and making sure it really hurts when you land those abilities.
Gold Fury are going to be spawning again, and actually LG looking for another pick, just counter-warding these mid-harpies, trying to gain that vision.
And Jeff is definitely on zone the whole time. He's looking for taunt if he can. I really feel like Camazotz should be priority number 1. Secondary is Hurriwind on that Janus, and they found Hurriwind quite a few times so far.
Started up right now, Jeff. I mean, this is not going to go for free. Scary D on the right-hand side. He needs to teleport over now. He can't wait at this position, and he's actually just going to back to base. I think work on some magical protection, get full health, and then head straight in.
Yeah, the Gold Fury just been taking the time here, Flashpoint. They are actually really baiting a fight. I feel like they've hit some power spikes that they want to go in.
Two-man
now it's
taunt.
Hurriwind, sorry, Jeff to engage. The ultimate from Hurriwind will not really find a home there. Tornado prog from Masters, he dives in. Snipes from the sky from BaRRaCCuDDa will hit onto 2. Third, a different story, but Vetium very far forward, force an airstrike back to safety.
4-man Intoxicate now, and it's going to be hard for LG to fight into this. You can see Benji actually zoning off 4 members of LG as the rest of his team is trying to escape. Now LG turning on the Robin. He's going to be forced to jump out.
Mask goes onto Hurriwind, but eats the shotgun to the face. Hurriwind is limping away back to his tower with Scary D giving chase and the collapse from Flashpoint to try and help him out.
Scary D, I mean, he gets this kill, but he's probably guaranteed dead. This is going to be hard for him to get away. He's knocked up, and it's secured 2 for 1 overall. 2 Flashpoint and Mast. I mean, the team fight was going LG's way. All they had to do was focus on Benji. He was forced out, play around the team, and start to slowly push up, but instead, he tries to make a hero play, looping around the side, looking for Hurriwind, and he pays.
Available for Benji to come back again at full health and come back to the fight. It looks like Luminosity will have to give up
Xeno needs to get away from these. He has no mana. Xeno had no mana. I mean, if he used an ability on those, he would have died, so good thing he's going to back off. But now Flashpoint up 4,000 gold at 19 minutes. LG have to win this to go to Worlds. I mean, sure, Flashpoint could still lose to Orbit, but Flashpoint are going to have a lot of momentum going into that final match. Orbit know they're out of it.
Well, we're going to get a quick pause here by the looks of it by Vetium. This is an interesting game to say the least. Homiefe as well. On that Camazotz in the Gold Fury fight, the big one there that I could see was the difference between what he chose to do as the Camazotz in the jungle. He sat in the team fight, waited around patiently for quite a while, and then engaged after quite a few of the CCs were already down.
I mean, that's just kind of the style of assassins, traditional assassin players. I think Jing, one of the first ones to really use that playstyle back in early 2013, where you are not there in the fight. You are just a ghost. You don't want to appear on any wards. You want people to be completely unaware of you. It works better, obviously, when you have a tankier front line. And you have Benji, who's super far ahead right now. You have Shadowq, so 2 characters that are going to be able to stay alive and take a man-down fight just so Homiefe can have that perfect opportunity. You think of Cyclone Spin from last year. That's a lot of what he did for AFK and for Envy, was just play that Ao Kuang, play those Ulers, and he wasn't the one starting the fights. He was just looping around, waiting for one person to just step away from their team and eliminate them. And you mentioned it, full pin build coming out from Homiefe. He will kill a Squishy if they're left alone.
Now the Ao Kuang on the circuit as well is a very similar playstyle to what a Camazotz will do, really hang at the back. Whereas Humbats is a different version. He wants to initiate a fight.
Humbats is all in. He's just like, party monkey, let's go. Burn some purification, get some damage on overhand smash, and hope his mage can hit his abilities and finish the player off.
Well, 6-4 now, and let's just check in with the gold lead for you. The Gold Fury did just go in favor of Flashpoint. You can see they got a 4,500 gold lead, 7,500 experience right now. It's a solid position for Flashpoint to be in, especially when we do look towards the late game. You mentioned Janus has the ability to win a team fight on his own.
And Raijin does as well, but it requires him to get so late in his build, and we have not seen any Raijins play at a consistently high level.
Benji ults in place. Janus ult comes through, but doesn't find a home.
That was a dash from Xeno.
It does allow the rotation from the team, though, and a good float from Shadowq. And the damage coming out from the bat is actually causing so many problems. The last bat of the hell didn't heal.
Scary's alive.
And the heal came through for Scary D.
He's going to get out.
Into turtle form and away back to safety.
How does that? How? BaRRa! Oh, he hit the first one and the third. Hurriwind stays alive. BaRRaCCuDDa would have found that kill if he hit the second shot, just off the mark, though. And so no kills happened, but the important thing there was just how little damage.
Forced to leap away and purify as well. The portal put down from Hurriwind to get him out, but what they came for, Flashpoint, they got. The speed buff, I believe, was stolen.
It was. Homiefe has the speed buff, and it's down. But again, I mean, Benji right now is a monster, and Flashpoint really need to be playing through him. We saw 3 members of Luminosity, both Mast, Xeno, and Jeff, all try and kill him, and he took virtually no damage at this point in the game. If I'm Flashpoint, Benji is out of that lane. I don't care if Scary D gets a little bit of farm. I'm using Benji to start putting pressure in the mid, start putting pressure in the duo, and look to start sieging towers as well. They're in a really good spot right now to play confidently. one of the biggest things that Flashpoint has lacked throughout the groups, or excuse me, throughout Super Regionals compared to their group stage play is aggression. They've played way too passive.
Do you reckon when they go on Benji now, as we continue into the game, if Benji actually continues to get focused here, should they hold a lot of abilities and wait for the rotation to bait a fight, potentially?
I mean,
because they could
possibly.
catch people coming through this portal over and over again.
I mean, the thing is, yeah, but I mean, Benji's not really, if you just do know abilities on Benji, that's not going to be good because Benji's still 5 levels ahead of Master right now, and he's going to kill him or Xenotronics if they just sit there and try and hold everything.
Very interesting. The itemization as well, as we look through the itemization of the two teams here, I expect to see maybe a little bit more, Magi's Blessings maybe on the side of Flashpoint just to deal with the amount of control that is available with all these
It's possible.
taunts.
I mean, the big thing is the taunts there.
And the pin.
The pin as well. The main thing is, though, that Xenotronics is so far behind right now, he really is not getting a lot of damage off onto any target. I'm actually interested in what Raijin's win rate is throughout the group stage and the Super Regionals. I think he's incredibly overvalued by teams, and I think this could be the pick that LG are going to regret at the end of this game.
I don't know. I mean, in the moment, it is advantage to Flashpoint LG. If they find the win, they go to Worlds. If they don't, they have to allow an orbit for them to get them to Worlds instead.
And honestly, if there's one team that can just make it happen through all, it is Luminosity. I mean, Jeff and BaRRa are some of the best players at coming back into games, very similar to that old Cloud9 style. You see the same type of play from Soar and Eager as well, really telling of a top team.
Well, at the moment, one of the players does have a bit of a keyboard malfunction at the moment on the side of Flashpoint, so they're currently dealing with that as we speak. So hopefully we'll get that sorted shortly for you guys at home as well. Obviously, Luminosity versus Flashpoint, a very critical game here, so we want them all on the top of the game. It is his own keyboard, by the way, whoever it is, just so you know.
What do you mean his own keyboard?
Because everyone will blame hi-rez.
Oh, yeah, no. They better bring their own. They better bring their own keyboards.
I mean, it'd be weird to play on not your own keyboard,
Yeah,
right?
that's really awkward. I mean, that's completely, you're not used to it at all. Don't want to do that.
Would be a rough situation for the boys. So at the moment, Flashpoint in a very, very good position. They have the Camazotz, but the analysts are going to take a look at how the game's gone so far. Evan, take it away.
Thanks, Hindu. As we go from that quick pause, we're basically going to break it down so far. I kind of want to get your just mid-game thoughts, get just stream of consciousness here, how you think it's going for both teams.
I would agree with Adonis right now that personally I don't really value Raijin all that highly as a mid lane god. I feel like a lot of teams have learned how to counterplay against it as well as punish that pick. And so I think that it's kind of interesting that Luminosity would opt for it, if anything, as well, because they picked it in their top 3 picks. It was their 3rd lock selection, which is what I found to be super interesting, considering that he picked it into the Janus, and like I said, it could play really well with the Susano, but at the same time, I'm just not a huge fan of Raijin.
Yeah, Raijin seems really weak right now. Xeno has found success on it previously, but during these LAN matches, he kind of seems a little nervous, a little shaken. To me, this game is kind of just a snowball from that early invade. Flashpoint executed it very well. They got pretty much about a 500 gold lead off that first invade, and they did a good job of controlling buffs from then on.
Now, considering the fact that if Flashpoint actually lose this game and they let go kind of their lead right now, Luminosity can clinch Worlds if they win. But Flashpoint kind of seemed to really be on the rising tide here in terms of that Camazotz paying off for them, Homiefe finding a little bit of rhythm there, and they can then extend their chances, possibly pushing it to the Orbit game, the final game of today, to potentially clinch Worlds themselves. I mean, there's a lot of pressure on both teams right now. I think that's why this pause is kind of a godsend for Luminosity in many ways, even though it's a keyboard malfunction.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely not an intentional pausing, but it's still kind of benefiting Luminosity in the sense that it's nice slowing down the momentum of a team that seems to be starting to get a little bit of snowball going, and they're capitalizing onto Xenotronics in particular because they want to punish that Raijin pick as much as possible and ensure that the damage that he is outputting isn't really, very effective for Luminosity. And another thing I want, like you brought up with the Camazotz, I think that it's actually a really interesting pick because I know from what I've heard personally from pro players talking, they don't really seem to value the Kama. The only one who really comes to mind that I could think of that enjoys him would be Divios, and Baskin, you would probably have a little bit more experience with that, considering that you probably had to deal with it in some solo lane matchups, I'd imagine, but how do you feel with it in the jungle?
I think it's a little weaker in the jungle than it is in solo, but I think a lot of what we're seeing in this game is sort of it's a surprise pick. No one has ever picked it in this tournament. This is a first available tournament for Camazotz, and I feel like Luminosity is kind of caught off guard by it. Sort of like they're on their back foot this whole game, and if I was playing up there and I was Luminosity, I was around 4K down, I'd feel like this pause is just the thing we need. You know, we would talk about how to get back in the game, kind of slow down things, and I guess get untilted and just try to win.
Now,
it's the biggest game of the season.
Is that how you get out of this? Is it just you calm down, you get your teammates together, say, guys, we still got a lot of time. We do not need to, you know, kind of say that we're over. We can still win this game if we just play the right way? Or are you making some specific calls, specifically looking at how, you know, certain picks are going for them, Xenotronics, the Raijin, all of that kind of stuff? Do you make some key specific plays there?
I think it's a little bit of both. For how behind Luminosity is right now, they definitely have to make some sort of play to get them back in the game. But yeah, I think if they generally play their own game, you know, maybe if someone from Flashpoint overextends, they try to punish it super hard. I think if they play their own game, they'll be fine. But they also should try to, you know, force some plays around the map.
I guess that's the question. Are they not playing their own game, Taco? Does it feel like a different Luminosity from what we've seen?
I wouldn't say that it's necessarily a different Luminosity. I just think that it's the Luminosity that has happened to fall behind due to not putting themselves in a very ideal mid-jungle composition in comparison to Flashpoint. But at the same time, I think that an important aspect to pay attention to is a lot of teams, whenever they're not doing too well, tend to start to fall short on the objective side of things. So hopefully they just keep up their aggression.
Well, let's see what the casters have to say. We're back to the game here. Luminosity versus Flashpoint.
So much, analysts, and here we go, 21 minutes in. A little quick recap for you all as well. Flashpoint in the lead right now. It's about a 5,000 goal lead, 4.5 I should say, as 7,000 experience as well, 6-4. And as we keep talking about Camazotz, or as Baskin has just created it, called Camazotz.
Yeah, the Camazotz.
Is that Thanazotz and Camazotz together?
I think
Thanazotz, there you go.
You just said Thanazotz. Now you messed it up too.
Yeah, why not? Well, BaRRa.
Camazotz is not a god.
Well, a nice little bit of poke onto Homiefe there. He's a very squishy god, his Camazotz as well.
Yeah, this is one good thing, though, is that BaRRaCCuDDa has farmed very efficiently. We've seen him get the better end of Vetium most of the time. Now, obviously, Vetium's on Jing way, so he is a level above. They also secured the Gold Fear and are just winning as a team. But BaRRaCCuDDa is poised. He's in a great position. He has Chin Size online. You saw the damage he's doing to Camazotz, who's 5 levels below him. You have to think that Janus and Bacchus are also at least 4 to 6 levels below him. Those are gods that he is going to shred through. Janus is the weakness right now. If you're Luminosity looking at Flashpoint, you want to try and isolate him because he's so far behind, and you want BaRRaCCuDDa specifically to find those ult shots.
And I guess you're looking towards JeffHindla here, or maybe Master set up onto Hurriwind on the Janus once again. We saw it in the early stages of the game where these taunts in mid lane did connect home, and Hurriwind was not near walls multiple times, forced to use Purification.
That's probably what they're looking to do, either Mast, you know, looking for the pool, or for the quick taunt from JeffHindla. But at this point in the game, LG need to be careful with that. It worked earlier when there was only about 1,000 goal difference.
The speed buff has been done by Flashpoint. 4 members were over here, and I thought we could see JeffHindla rotating around there, but instead.
I would say that would be one of the poorest decisions made in this tournament if JeffHindla and Xenotronics tried to walk into Flashpoint's jungle in the game they essentially need to win, because if Flashpoint, again, we talked about it, if they win this, LG aren't out of it. They still need to face Orbit and win. They're going to have so much momentum going into that game. They're going to have so much confidence in their own play, and Orbit are out of it. I mean, they're not going to be playing with as much fire as they did earlier.
It's true. It's very, very true indeed. And the funny thing is, I'm looking at the state of the game now, and I think this next Gold Fury here, Adonis, is probably the biggest talking point of the game now, because this one could either push Flashpoint into a position where it's going to be very difficult for Luminosity to climb back in, or it could go Luminosity's way and make this a tied game again.
It's going to be a hard decision to make for Luminosity on how to defend that, and once again, forcing that purification. And you saw at that time, they had no intention of fighting or following up. They just wanted to get the purification. Xeno.
Well, that was interesting, because Hurriwind steps forward with the support of Shadowq to get some damage off, and in the end, he takes some poke himself, but so does Xeno for trying to answer back to the support.
BaRRa's not here, though. If Luminosity has to back up, you can see BaRRa just getting that wave. Gold Fury about to spawn. It's Flashpoints to take. They should not let this game carry out into the 30-minute mark. I mean, the Robin's going to fall off. Camazotz he doesn't fall off as much, but it's still going to be dangerous for him to get into fights once Xenotronics gets penetration online, when BaRRaCCuDDa starts hitting him for a massive amount of damage.
Here goes Jeff again, looking for a taunt. This time just throws out the reach and drops a ward down. Gold Fury Pit is controlled by Flashpoint right now with those sentry wards, but it will change relatively soon with that sentry being dropped down by Mask.
TP and Wrath up for both teams. And it's LG, surprisingly enough, pushing forward in this spot. I mean, I feel like Flashpoint should be looking to poke them out in this scenario.
From the gameplay I can see coming out here, they're actually waiting for Jeff to use his taunt and then reinitiating with Bacchus to the backline. And that's when Flashpoint are actually collapsing and going for these engagements.
Well, there's the taunt onto Vetium. Takes a little bit of poke, and he's going to walk out, but there goes his purification.
Into the sky goes BaRRaCCuDDa, trying to buy some time. Got to be careful about the space and time, as well as other abilities waiting on landing, like the Gust. Force the Sanctuary to avoid that damage with space and time down. Hurriwind, however,
he found him.
Die before Hurriwind can get to the portal. Meanwhile, Xeno's in the same spot. Junglers take out the mids.
And here comes Benji, level 20. BaRRaCCuDDa in between two.
Good
Great
taunt.
taunt from Hindla, gonna buy him some time. Now ulting for the damage reduction, and Homiefe has to get out, but Benji's still fighting.
Benji doesn't care. He's not going to care in the world right now. He wants his second time at Worlds. BaRRa realizes
Bear's
he's
still
losing
alive.
the fight, and he's sustaining, using the minions to his advantage. The pin from skirmishes, the knock-off from skirmishes, but BaRRa is still going to fall. Benji picks him up, but skirmishes will trade him out.
Still, though, holding out for that trade is huge for Luminosity. I mean, that should have been a dead ROM 10 seconds
Vetium
ago.
is here, and there's the agility. skirmishes the focal point, and the support from JeffHindla to try and keep him alive. But skirmishes on his last legs and has to run away. Jeff too. And in the end, the fight washes with a couple of members from each team dying.
Man, JeffHindla in that fight was the absolute key. Not only does he force out the purification from Vetium to engage, but then on the left-hand side, he taunts the players away from BaRRaCCuDDa and then actually blocks Homiefe's Screech, which would have confirmed the kill, buying time to pick up Benji.
And now is skirmishes coming back in as well. Jeff will fall down here more than likely. Great knock-up, however, from skirmishes to buy him a little bit of time. Vetium credit for the kill, but now Homiefe's on a position, has to ult defensively here. We'll get some poke
he's ulting offensively.
3 in a row, and then Mass falls down too. Flashpoint are winning this game. They're going to get the goal for you here as well.
11-6 right now, still about a 5K lead, so nothing's changed in that exchange of kills, but this Gold Fury will push Flashpoint into a fantastic position. Hurriwind also getting his big items online. It's almost a 7,000 gold lead, 1,100 experience, or excuse me, 11,500 experience, and this is getting scary for Luminosity.
I came into today and expected it to be over in the first few games here.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to the last game by the looks of it. With how this group has gone, every game has mattered for one reason or another.
Just ulted into Fire Giant. They're fully committing onto this.
Let's have a listen in to Flashpoint's comms as they look for this Fire Giant.
Yeah.
Helmet.
Just live. Rama. Nice man.
Nice, you're fine.
Just live.
My med.
Run.
We need a harder set.
Homie reset now.
Don't get taunted.
I can just heal off something.
Who's active? That's
They
my
might
med.
force fire.
Might be down for 3. Be down for 3. Let me just heal off this blue.
Rama's going for red, I think.
Okay. Is he?
I don't know.
You're running
Doesn't
for
matter.
vision. Yeah, I'm gonna back for vision right now.
Raijin is down.
Okay, we need to group and force something. We're really far ahead.
Getting red right now. Rama's
Yeah,
just
can I
mid.
get that? Can I get that?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Rom's mid. We should really be the ones forcing stuff here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. They're
Rom
running fire right now.
Rom is doing all their team right now.
They
Yeah,
might
you just kill Rom. Yeah, I'm gonna push right
They're
then
not
flight
doing
FG.
that, right?
No.
I'm gonna push right then flight FG.
I want a sentry. We have to group. Push that and then come.
They're like
Sentry.
mid right
In a
now.
dash.
I'm back.
Rom could be here.
I'm back. I'll fly.
We're waiting for Vetium. Just
Bring up
poking.
this
Just
sentry.
poking.
I'm flying. Okay, we're gonna play FG.
Come with sentries,
Yeah.
everyone.
Let's listen to Flashpoint GG then. They've worked it out themselves now. Rama is the answer.
Focus BaRRa, also group up. We need to be the ones forcing something right now. At the start of that listening, though, Benji almost kills Homiefe. You saw Homiefe actually walk back into the tower trying to take the portal that Hurriwind left for him. Thankfully, he gets out, and you heard the fear in the voice, too. Just live. They had to burn their meditation, which is something I don't think they were too happy about, and might delay this a little bit. It is coming back up in about 34 seconds. All relics online for both teams outside of that TP on skirmishes and the blink from Homie.
Well, Flashpoint said they needed to force something, and they're going to try and force the Fire Giant, which will bait a fight. Jeff goes in onto Vetium. Vetium takes a bit of poke, coming out from Mast as well. Space and time fired off. Did hit onto Xenotronics in the midst of that. Meanwhile, the airstrike is used by Vetium defensively to go into Mast, and Mast could fall down here, but Xeno will take out Shadowq in trade.
Bears in the sky, finds all three. Third one, Sanctuaried out. Vetium's going to remain alive, and now BaRRaCCuDDa's isolated.
And BaRRa's
the
alone.
team needs to get to him, and they are going to help him out, but Homiefe, they're all lined up. He hit all three. BaRRa on 1 health, and he's Homie's going to get portaled.
And Homie will get out as well. Me on the left-hand side, however, JeffHindla will answer back to the Janus, but Jeff is now in trouble from Benji. And Vetium will look at Xenotronics, who was trying to help out his support, and now he's forced out. skirmishes, the last man in the fight, forced a turtle, and the turtle ain't going nowhere now. It's turtle soup, as you can see him drinking it up.
3-2,
bottom of your screen.
3-2, but Vetium and Homiefe live. That's both of their physical damage healers. They're going to be able to shred through this fire giant. JeffHindla took a trip back to base with Xenotronics, and Flashpoint are poised to close out this game. Just going to finish it up real quick. And it's going to be a 7,000 gold lead.
14-8 then. Great gold lead situation then. 8,000 in the lead now. Fire Giant online. A lot of towers still standing for Luminosity though, so this Fire Giant probably won't end the game unless we see an amazing Deicide probably coming out as well as they were on the push. But this should be tier 1 towers and probably the tier 2s as well.
And that fight starts with JeffHindla being the initiator again. This time, Flashpoint recognized what LG had been doing all game. The taunts weren't full commits. Not once did we see LG immediately burn someone that was taunted by JeffHindla. They just wanted him to waste their purification. This time, Vetium holds it. And then finally, Xenotronics commits his ult onto Shadowq. Yeah, they got the kill, but all of their damage went into taking down a support while the carries just reigned free in their backline.
And that's the game here, is a game of little chicken more than anything else. With Athena going in and taunting, it's like, is there anybody to follow up? I need to purify it. Is nobody following up? I need to hold it and hope I'm not making the wrong mistake here. It's a game of chicken. Whoever can hold the purification the longest, it is making a factor. BaRRaCCuDDa did such a good job in that fight of surviving though, especially after the gust. He used his relics very, very well in the engagement, but it still wasn't good enough to get him out.
And if he would have had that kill, I mean, if Sanctuary had been burned earlier onto Vetium and he found that kill, it's a 3-for-3 trade. You don't see Flashpoint get Fire Giant. They would have to reset, but now they're on their back foot because of that. Vetium played that so well.
In goes Jeff, taunt on Vetium one more time, but Vetium took a lot of poke that time round, forced out Scary was waiting around the corner, gonna force the airstrike out of him, and Homiefe forced to leap away. Bat out of hell online, he's just trying to buy time in the sky to get an escape route, and that's what Hurriwind created for him.
Oh, BaRRa, he missed 2 shots, and now Vetium's gonna live off of that. Scary still on the front line.
That was a good fight.
But he's gotta back up. That Fire Giant regen coming in for Flashpoint, but BaRRa's just hitting all of these basics and jukes the unstable Vortex.
It's a good fight for Luminosity, that, because they can hold off a little bit longer for the time being. Obviously, all 5 still strong for Flashpoint. Only 3 of them did get the Fire Giant because of how the engagements went.
And it's still a massive lead for Flashpoint. They've all got about an item lead on top of their opposition, and instead just going to go to the Gold Fury. This is going to be something I don't think LG wants to contest at all, but they've shown they can hold against Flashpoint if they play it right.
That gold is problematic, though, for Luminosity, because that is going to pretty much finish off those 6 items on the side of Flashpoint, whereas Luminosity, they're still working towards most of them.
This is going to be a free tier 1. LG can't defend. And the question is, what are LG going to give up? Are they going to give up this tier 2? They have to. Athena back in base. Mass just went back in base too. I don't think they wanted to give this up for free, but
I agree.
They didn't expect Flashpoint to actually walk into this lane after Gold Fury.
I think the big key there for me was Luminosity were happy to actually lose these towers because they knew they were going to anyway, but slowing down the advance of Flashpoint so they couldn't go for a Phoenix afterwards was the key. They wasted most of their Fire Giant buff now on clearing out the towers, means their Phoenixes will stand.
It's got about a minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes at most, and so if they can, they'll probably have 1 defense. I think Flashpoint have about a chance to siege up 1 tower if they want to use it. You can see Homiefe going to be grabbing a speed. Could possibly see an invade onto this speed on the right-hand side that's going to be spawning soon as well. But the big question is, where's the damage outside of Ram coming from Luminosity? And
it's not.
They've really struggled. I mean, just look at the player damage. I mean, it's Raijin at 14,000, then 3 members of Flashpoint, and obviously BaRRaCCuDDa up there above them.
Well, back to the tier 2 tower in mid we go. Last time round, LG defended it. It was all thanks to a setup from JeffHindla, taunting Vetium, and there he goes again. Taunt on Vetium, space and time, hits BaRRaCCuDDa though.
Hit.
Not enough to take him out of the fight. He will sustain journey, and the boys at Flashpoint forced to get out. Into the sky goes BaRRaCCuDDa looking for snipes. No real low health targets to find a kill on, but detrimental damage is done.
Good reset from Flashpoint. Look at the ultimates right now. LG have 0, still 3 up for Flashpoint, and they're going to be able to regen in off of their Fire Giant.
That was good.
And Flashpoint just play that intelligently. They engage at the edge of the tower. No one dives in too deep. You see the Janus ult clip BaRRa, which means he can't dash in aggressively. He can't look to try and make some big play. And then after all the ults are out, then nothing LG can do to defend at that point. They have to back up. But Fire Giant is going to be fading off the team, just did shortly ago. And so the next FG got to be very crucial for Luminosity.
This FG absolutely vital here. And there is a Wrath on their squad. Obviously, they've got Scary D with the Wrath, as well as having an Athena to taunt and a few other things that could really make an impact at the Fire Giant. It is favoring Flashpoint, though, when they look at composition in terms of controlling that Fire Giant.
I think LG are going to give up Fire Giant.
Really?
Yeah, I mean...
I don't think they can. I really don't think they could do this.
They're all close to full... I guess maybe not. If Xenotronics had Rod of Tahuti, I think they can defend Phoenix's okay, because they're almost all full build at that point, but probably not now. And you can see BaRRa actually, I don't know if this was intentional or forced into, finished off his build with Titan's Bane and Brawlers. I think just looking for those very cheap, efficient penetration items instead of waiting for an extra 1,500 to finish off 2 crit.
That damage onto Mask caused a bit of a problem for the boys of Luminosity looking to defend it now. And I'm pretty sure Flashpoint recognized that the fight is raging. Homie goes straight in. The blink onto BaRRa's good. The Screech too. Sanctuary forced on BaRRaCCuDDa. And Homie will disengage using the Battle of Hell.
Oh, BaRRa's in the sky though. He's looking for Homiefe in the back line instead. Turning his attention to Vetium. He finds 2 shots. The pin just off the mark. Okay. And Flashpoint are forced off of the Fire Giant. Mast doesn't want to let him get away for free.
And he's going to grab Benji, but Benji's not the prime target. He will get taunted
though. He is now.
The Gust from Vetium will buy him a second to overhead kick away and ult out as well. The pin hits onto Vetium, who's now forced to airstrike. Panics about the situation of Scary D's pin. And now Luminosity, they control the Fire Giant pit, but they don't feel confident enough to attempt it.
That was just a poor team fight from Flashpoint. First of all, you have Shadowq pushed up by himself, just gets poked out after a taunt, and no one from Flashpoint responds. Then Homiefe, I mean, he tries to ult.
It was a one-shot game.
He blinked into the backline, but he was by himself, and it was a great response from LG to keep BaRRa alive. Well-timed Sanctuary as well. Homiefe has to ult to get away. He can't even use it to pick up a kill.
But the big thing there was Hurriwind's ultimate was firing through with Homiefe to go for the kill on BaRRa and one-shot him. It didn't happen, but it did get both of BaRRaCCuDDa's relics. You heard Flashpoint's communications. They were saying BaRRa is the problem. It's also the answer to winning the game. So if they can find him and take him out, and now with no relics, it's going to be an easier task this time round.
And Vetium still has all of his. There's purification on Homie and Hurriwind. Neither were forced. That's big, because if Jeff assumes they're down, if someone from Luminosity miscalled that...
Oh, well, Shadowq is going to be brought in as the taunt hits, and Scary D's in a bit of trouble there. He's already ultimated as well, but the focus onto him is very good, and Scary D's still after Vetium in the backside of this fight, trying to keep him busy, but now Scary D's going to run for his life on the right, and Homiefe is giving chase. Scary's going to pin in place. 2 snipes come out, but Vetium will clean up the kill on Scary D. 1 member down, and it's the solo laner, and Xenotronics is the next to fall. The rookies are falling on the side of Luminosity.
And just 3 members from LG remain. They're not in a good spot to look at Homiefe. He's actually looping around behind them, and Benji doesn't want to let this go for free. Just off the mark on the route there. If he finds that, Flashpoint could probably secure his kill. Instead, just going to steal away the speed buff. Still haven't gone for the Fire Giant just yet. They're actually backing the base. They don't want to go for it, even with Xeno and Scary down.
Well, with more backing, he's left Benji a bit isolated. He's got Hurriwind and Homiefe close by, but there's not a whole lot Homie can do. But that damage onto JeffHindla really shredded hard. He's going to force them back again.
And Camazotz, I mean, when you go full pin build, it's pretty easy to shred through these tanky targets. And it's really been the tanky targets that have been the focus for both teams. Most of LG, their squishier players are sitting really far in the back line, and you could, I mean, we saw it in the last fight, right? I mean, it's a Janus ult and Homiefe's blink trying to dive BaRRaCCuDDa, but the thing is, this is working for LG because BaRRaCCuDDa is positioning himself so well. The team's playing so well around him. When he gets jumped on, the whole team just goes to protect him.
But the game plan's working for Flashpoint, because look at BaRRa's scoreline right now. He's 0, 3, and 5. Yes, he's been insurmountable in the amount of damage he's done, but the damage hasn't created kills. He's not got a single one for his team. He's on 5 assists, which is just over 50%.
So, no. Look at this. I mean, we looked at player damage just a couple minutes ago, and the top 3 players were 18,000 damage each, or roughly about the same. BaRRaCCuDDa was in the middle. Since these last couple fights, he shot up, and now he's 5,000 above every other player. BaRRa is actually doing so much damage in these team fights.
The sustain is the issue. Space and time fired, not going to find a home. Benji ults in place. The drums of war are sounded as well from Xenotronics. The damage is not good enough to kill Hurriwind. end, but BaRRaCCuDDa will get his first kill. He turns his attention to Vetium. Good snipes onto him to half-health him, and BaRRa will roll in, but the Bat was waiting. It's going to force the Sanctuary out of BaRRaCCuDDa, and now the Bat's on the run instead. Mass giving chase, looking to put out damage. The flop from Shadowq, good.
Great
And the
play.
Thunder Crash, though, from Xenotronics means that Shadowq is in trouble himself. He helps out his jungler to stay alive, but he'll go down in trade.
LG win that fight 2-0. Not a single player dies. And BaRRaCCuDDa doing 5,000 damage in that fight. Again, the player doing most of the work. Fire Giant started up and they baited Homie.
And Homiefe gets Thunder Crashed and knocked up, and the Bat will fall down.
Are Flashpoint going to lose this?
This could be possible. It's 40 minutes in the game. The respawns, look at him. It's 63 seconds on Homiefe right now. The Fire Giant, the second one of the game, is going to LG.
LG hold down 8,000 gold with players 3-4 levels below their direct opposition, and it's just the will of BaRRaCCuDDa trying to push LG to Worlds right now. And I mean, that fight, we saw the body blocks. That Hurriwind's gonna regret that play. You saw him ult in, but he put himself into the middle of Luminosity, body blocked against the wall, couldn't do anything. And also BaRRaCCuDDa with the ultimate, I think his third shot hit 2 people as well, made it uncomfortable for Flashpoint to continue on. And now LG running down mid lane, working on the towers.
Nothing surprises me in Smite anymore, because nothing's set in stone ever, and you can tell that just by looking at how this game is going now. They have a man advantage for another 5 seconds. They're looking towards this Phoenix in the mid lane as a taunt hits, and they're going to drums of war straight away. Space and time did not find the home, but Xenotronics half-health already.
Hurry.
Into the skies, BaRRa. He didn't need to find the snipe because Hurry's already dead. Vetium's on half too. Benji goes in to keep them busy. The Oddibo is shredded from BaRRaCCuDDa as well, just keeping them pinned back from aggressing.
And just a great fight from LG. They find their pick. Not a single person dies again. They have Fire Giant. They have Meditation. And that Meditation, they didn't really need it. They could have let FG regen them. Instead, though, it allows them to immediately push into this.
The Phoenix falls down as well. Luminosity immediately turn their attention to the left-hand side. 2 towers there. It weakens the Titan and gets them some gold that they really need to finish off their last items that most of them still don't have.
1, 3, and 8, and BaRRaCCuDDa is almost doubling every other player on his team's damage. He has just done so much work in these fights. His positioning has been great, and the team as a whole as well. When BaRRaCCuDDa is looked at, they don't care about anything else other than protecting him. And now they secured that Fire Giant. They got the middle Phoenix. They're looking at the left side one. Respawn timer so long. Hurriwind still 10 seconds left. Not going to be a factor.
Shadowq picked up, pinned in place. Can't jump out just yet. Vetium loses a huge trade to BaRRa, and BaRRa is going to be able to potentially find one hit. Force the Sanctuary to defensively used. There's the Battle of Hell.
He's got to get him.
Extended, and Benji gets the kill. There's the ult from Benji now, and it's Flashpoint who are pushing Luminosity out of their base.
LG have to run. Vetium knocks himself up, adjusts forward here, looking for Xenotronics. The Oboe doing work to hit the rest of the teammates on LG. And there's the through space of time.
It will only hit JeffHindla though, but it does create those portals to allow him to close the gap again. Xenotronics is the first one down. Mast and Scary D and Jeff running for the lives. Mast on the way back, but I'm pretty sure he's just going to make sure they get out with the Fire Giants.
It's not going to end this way.
Are they going to end?
Is it going to end off the greed? You saw BaRRaCCuDDa roll forward into that Phoenix. He gets picked up off a Homiefe. He was looking to kill Vetium, and it's at least going to be a return Phoenix in the mid lane.
Great
There's
play
no
from
way they
Flashpoint.
try and finish this
Flashpoint
now. There's
hold
no
well.
way.
They're not going to go for the finish here, not so whatsoever. They need to even up the lanes. They can look for the left-hand Phoenix, though. This could be a good call from them. They're trying to keep Vetium busy, and that's a good idea, because he is the major damage for trying to backdoor this Phoenix. Benji's in place, dealing with Scary D. Scary D half health, forced to turtle out, and his ultimate is down. Homie used the ultimate for no reason there, as Benji dived way too deep, and Benji gets away from the pin just in time. But Shadowq is the last man on the front line, forced to flop away as well. Mass still wants to go in, and he picks up Shadowq, but Shadowq has an option, and he'll take the option to safety.
I almost thought that was getting it. Look at that Vetium, the laziest back I've ever seen. Somehow works out for him. But Mast has so much movement speed, chasing down Hurriwind. Gets himself through the wall, but he was full health, and now Benji's getting chased away. Mast turns his attention to Shadowq here. I don't think LG are going to find anything off of this, though. They have to stop
chasing right now, because they're not going to find anything else in this game. He's got to go back to a full reset. The Fire Giant is about to wear off. The middle Phoenix for each team is down. The towers are equal. The game is pretty much equal right now.
It's
The
dead even.
items and gold right now, it's pretty close. I mean, I think the only thing I can see is Janus needs to finish off the Soul Reaver that's coming through. I'm looking at the builds of Luminosity here. There's been a couple of change-ups in Flashpoint's builds here, because you can see the Transcendence picked up for Homiefe. Instead of going for more penetration, he had
Just
the Crusher
now.
earlier on.
He just wants, I think we're going to see Homiefe adjust his playstyle, sit even further back, just look for that ranged poke. Again, Vampire Bats and Screech do so much against these targets like Mast, like Xenotronics, BaRRaCCuDDa as well. And they killed BaRRaCCuDDa. I mean, that's how Flashpoint held on the left-hand side, was that BaRRaCCuDDa actually rolled in aggressively, trying to cripple out Vetium before he could escape, and he ends up paying with his own life because of it.
And that just started the whole little interesting point where we're at now. The Fire Giant dance will begin another time, the third time really, as two of them have already gone down. It's 45 minutes approaching in this game now, and we are still no closer to knowing who is going to be the last team to make it out of Europe and North America to the World Championships.
Mast finds Shadow. He's got to jump away. Fire Giant started up by LG. The rest of the team on zone duty. Shell just burned by Shadowq, and no fight took part.
Important one there. The middle Phoenix, however, for Flashpoint has respawned. Hurriwind's there to defend, has space and time, remember. And if he hits that ultimate, he's not many today, but he's got Soul Reaver now. Hurriwind could find a huge ultimate that turns the game. That's a game-winning Janus that could be there right now.
He's looking.
Jeff on zone duty once again, trying to buy time and get a position for a turn on some of the carries. Meanwhile, ScaryD trying to weather the storm on the front side, but eats the Soul Reaver from the unstable vortex.
So
as
much
well
poke.
as the damage coming out from Vampiric Bats. It forces control of the pit to Flashpoint for the time being.
And Scary's got to back off. He's probably going to heal up. You can see him take a trip back to base. Now Flashpoint do have all 5 members surrounding, and so they're going to get control of the pit for now. And this is what you want to be. You want to have control of the pit. Obviously, the only options that LG have to come in are very funneled. It leaves them open to get hit very easily by abilities like the Screech from Homiefe and like the Unstable Vortex.
Shadowq and Benji on the front side. Vetium's a little bit far forward there, but in a decent enough position to get some poke damage out. Talking about poke, you saw the percussive storm hit Benji, but he didn't do too much there. Benji doing a very good job of keeping busy, but now he got pulled back in by Mast for a second. No commit from either team so far. Jeff goes in next, taunts onto Benji. Benji sees a lot of investment into him from Luminosity right now, but Benji doesn't care. He wants one man and one man alone. It's BaRRaCCuDDa, and Barry's getting chased down by the whole team of Flashpoint. The dot damage from the Vampiric Bats will clean up BaRRaCCuDDa, and now it's a 4v5.
The rest of LG have to make big plays, but Mast forced out of this fight, and here comes Homie. Vetium finds Mast. The attention on to Xenotronics, who burns his purification, trying to get away, does Thunder Crash, but it's still a chase from Flashpoint. LG's Phoenix has just respawned, but here comes Homie. Blinks forward. He is stunned out. The dots. Is that going to finish off Xeno?
No, Xeno will get back. The Phoenix, however, will not get back up whatsoever. Flashpoint trying to make a decision now. Do they want this Titan or do they want the left-hand Phoenix? They're going to try and backdoor the left-hand Phoenix again. They're 5 members strong this time against only 3. Luminosity are here to defend, and already the Phoenix is getting chipped away out. The focus on Vetium is the main problem here.
Xeno.
Hurriwind.
Okay.
Got a lot of poke onto him by Xenotronics there, I should say. But the Phoenix on the left does fall down. Are they going for the win?
They're going in. They have a fire wave. They have to defend. BaRRaCCuDDa not up for 20 seconds. Flashpoint piling in onto the Titan right now. It's at half health.
The Titan is going to fall down here. They're trying to save it as best they can. Body block Luminosity if you want to stay in this
1700,
one. Otherwise,
500,
it's getting
0.
low. And Flashpoint beat Luminosity. That means that the last game of the day is important. Flashpoint just have to beat Orbit to go to the World Championships. Nobody has the number 2 spot yet. Still, after all the day's play of yesterday and today, there is still 1 spot up for grabs.
Absolute unbelievable game from Flashpoint. They started off so strong. About an 8,000 gold lead off that early invade. Again, abusing Luminosity's incredibly weak level 1 fights along with their rough laning phases and kind of those rookies who don't know how to quickly adjust to it. They got a lead. They expanded it to 8K and then just big mistakes. And also just the willpower of BaRRaCCuDDa. Perfect positioning from him. He's able to drag his team back into the game. They get a Phoenix, but then it all comes down to the greed. He saw Vetium 1 hit. He rolled forward. Homiefe makes him pay for it, and then Flashpoint in the end win that fight again at the right-hand side on that Phoenix, or excuse me, on that Fire Giant. Homiefe able to find BaRRaCCuDDa by himself, pick him off, and that was the only player Flashpoint had to worry about.
And now Luminosity, they have to sit and watch the final game of Flashpoint versus Orbit
brutal.
and hope Orbit beat Flashpoint. That's the only way anyone other than Flashpoint is going to Worlds, is if Orbit beat Flashpoint.
Or
if Flashpoint win, they're going.
Europe decides which North American team goes to Worlds.
It's going to be an interesting one. The analysts, they can talk all about it because they've got a fantastic game to watch there.
I mean, I am speechless. I'm without speech. I know that all of us are just kind of just recovering from the excitement, the back and forth of that game. Flashpoint handing it to Luminosity despite very many turns in the momentum in that. They looked like they were going to choke for a moment, Baskin, and all of a sudden they pull it through.
That was just so intense. That was like one of the best games I've ever watched. Flashpoint had a really early lead, and they were playing it pretty well, but they weren't really aggressing as much as I thought they should. And during the late game, they kind of weren't winning fights from 10k ahead, and I thought that's kind of weird, you know, like they really should be destroying these fights.
Right.
And then Luminosity makes that miracle like comeback. They get Fire Giant, push down the left Phoenix, and then BaRRa kind of dies a little too early from rolling in on Flashpoint's right Phoenix. And from that point on, they just kind of get wiped in team fights and just goes all downhill. And then that exciting ending, I don't know. I wasn't sure if they were going to end.
Taco, you were watching in the stands. What was it like watching the end of that game?
It was pretty intense. I mean, obviously, you've got the guys from Orbit trying to amp things up a little bit because I think even they're excited to be the decision makers ultimately on how their gameplay is going to determine which NA team goes to Worlds.
That's right.
They're pretty interested in going all out for this one, I'd imagine. Plus, it's just a little bit of a redemption factor on their end as well. I'm sure they want to get more than one win through this series, and so at the same time, pretty much what Baskin pointed out with BaRRa rolling into the right Phoenix, they were trying to lock down that kill onto Vetium, and it was just so unfortunate watching him just barely slip away, and then I could kind of just tell from watching it, and I think there was like the hush over the crowd because everybody kind of just knew that BaRRa was probably going to die.
Right.
I thought Flashpoint was going to end when that happened, but they, you know, there was a little bit more struggling going on, but ultimately, they did pick up the W. So now, unfortunately enough for Luminosity, they're going to have to watch this one from the same crowd.
That is just the, that's kind of a scary feeling, right? I mean, I don't know, competing, it's one of those things where if you don't let things go your way, you don't take control of it when you have the opportunity, sitting back and letting someone else control your fate, it's not where you want to be, but they don't have any other choice, Baskin, and looking at it, I mean, given this next game coming up, Orbit versus Flashpoint means so much. I want to talk about Orbit. Orbit have not shown that they really have shown up this LAN. And what is the change in energy? You said they might be reignited, Taco, to have a matter in this, a say in this next game. Baskin, what do you think Flashpoint Orbit is going to be going on in this next match?
It's really hard to tell. I mean, Orbit was the #1 seed online stages from EU, and they were looking so good. And then they kind of flopped versus Obey, and then in these group stages, you know, they haven't been performing well. And, you know, it's hard to tell, like, what it is. I don't think it's LAN nerve just because they've been to so many LANs, but maybe it is. And this set for them means nothing, so maybe they will step up because they're not nervous about losing anything because they're already out. So it's hard to tell, but Flashpoint has also come off a big win. They were super hyped. I could hear them yelling from here, and that momentum could carry.
Hurriwind was very excited about that.
Yeah, he was.
We saw him.
I think the biggest thing about this as well is that for Flashpoint, securing this win against Luminosity is really just super impactful towards their team morale in general, because I feel like they probably view Luminosity in this group setting to be their biggest opposition. I don't think they're as intimidated by Orbit after watching Orbit lose so many games to teams that, you know, they weren't really expected to go down against.
Right.
And so it'll definitely be interesting to see whether or not Orbit can re-spark that team flame that they always have. You know, the guys have been trying to stay overall a bit more positive throughout the day, despite knowing that their chances for Worlds have been shot down the drain. But at the same time, I still think that they can definitely be, the spoiling card of this whole tournament.
It's really interesting. I mean, it's like not usual that you see some factors, I think, outside of gameplay so much have an impact. But in terms of Homiefe, I think information was the highest commodity there. The Camazotz coming through, they didn't have an answer for it. And Homiefe just showed, he pulled a god out of a hat, right? He pulled a bat out of a hat instead of a rabbit this time. And he just made such an impact with these plays.
Yeah, the pocket pick Camazotz. Not a lot of teams have much experience against this god, considering that he is so new to the scene. And so I definitely think that it was a bit of a risky decision for him to go with, but like I've said before, you got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. He did a very good job of maintaining his early lead that he got from the invade, and in these team fights, he was just literally one-shotting people running around, you know. Great use of the ultimate to immune damage and also to shred their squishies. He just did a great job all around.
Buying time as well, just making sure that he was there at the right moment, whether it was popping up in the air so he was immune from the ROM snipes from BaRRaCCuDDa, or just creating space for him and his teammates to kind of re-engage. We saw so many of that where they would like fight 5v5 and then everyone would lose half their health, they'd back off, and then they'd regain health and they go fight v5 again.
Yeah.
It was pretty amazing. I'm hearing that we have a break. I hope they don't throw it to an interview because I'm always scared. That was a great game. It's possible that we could, but according to what I know, we're taking a quick break and we will be right back for the last game of the day, Orbit versus Flashpoint, to see if Flashpoint can make it to Worlds. Don't go anywhere.
As soon as I arrive home, yeah, I moved on. Some things in life are too simple. Some things in life are too simple. I don't really want to drive home, but as soon as I arrive home, yeah, I moved on. Some things in life are too simple. Some things in life are too simple. Too simple. As soon as I arrive home, yeah, I moved on. Some things in life are too simple. Some things in life are too simple. I don't really want to drive home.